If you have a reason why you can't go home, would you like to live at my place? On my way home from work, a girl I didn't know suddenly grabbed my hand and led me somewhere. When we arrived, I saw a woman collapsed and lying motionless in the bushes at a park. It seemed that she was the girl's mother. I immediately called an ambulance and helped them out. Both the mother and daughter were wearing tattered clothes, clearly looking weak and exhausted. After the mother was discharged from the hospital, I listened to their story and learned that they had been through some tough experiences. A while later, a black luxury car with a chauffeur appeared in front of my house. I want to thank you. I would like to offer you a $13 million contract as your responsibility. What? My name is Matthew. I work in sales at a real estate company. Just before I graduated from high school, my father passed away in a tragic accident. Because of that, I gave up on going to college and decided to get a job right after high school. My mother said, "I'll take on more part-time work, so please go to college and graduate." But I couldn't bear to put any more burden on her. However, it was already past the hiring season for new graduates. It was really tough to find a job as a high school graduate looking for a mid-career position. At that time, the company I work for now decided to hire me. You've been through a lot for someone so young. You can work here. Make sure to take good care of your mother. During the interview, Mr. Ingram, the president himself, listened to my story with genuine concern and encouraged me to work hard together. It was a small company, but Mr. Ingram always put his employees first, and my colleagues were all good people. I feel fortunate to have found a great workplace. I promised myself to repay Mr. Ingram someday. With that in mind, I worked tirelessly, determined to give it my all. I consistently ranked among the top in sales, trying to contribute to the company as much as possible. A few years later, I was introduced to Sarah, who worked in sales administration at one of our client companies. After dating for a year, we got married. The following year, our daughter Melissa was born, and I was able to show my mother her grandchild, something I had always wanted to do. My mother adored Melissa, and life seemed to be going well. However, just when I thought everything was going smoothly, the company began to feel the effects of the economic downturn. Mr. Ingram himself stayed late at the office after everyone had gone home, making calls to get more business and visiting clients. Seeing him put in so much effort, we, the employees, were determined to support him and worked together as a team. Around that time, Melissa had just turned 3. I was working overtime every day, barely catching a glimpse of my daughter's sleeping face. My wife Sarah was working part-time while Melissa attended extended daycare, returning home on the bus in the evening. The money Sarah earned from her part-time job was entirely spent on herself and Melissa. I had no complaints about that, thinking it was fine as long as she spent within her earnings. One day, I got a call at work from the preschool. "I'm sorry to bother you during work. The tuition for the second half of the year remains unpaid." "What? Really? We tried visiting your home, but no one was there. If things remain as they are, we may have to ask Melissa to leave the preschool. We kindly ask for your payment." "Understood. I am terribly sorry. I will transfer the money right away." Shocked by the call, I rushed to the bank during my lunch break and made the payment to the preschool from my own account. I had set up a household account for living expenses and entrusted it to Sarah. I figured Sarah must have forgotten the payment deadline. At first, I thought that was the case, but when I checked the balance of the household account just in case, there were only a few dollars left. The account that should have had plenty of money was almost empty. What is going on? That evening, I asked Sarah about it after coming home. The preschool said the tuition wasn't paid, and they called my office. Most of the money from the household account had been withdrawn, but you didn't use it to pay, did you? "Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot. I already covered it, so please put that amount back into the household account later. By the way, isn't the rent and utility payment set up for direct debit? If you took out all the money, won't there be a shortage?" "Yeah, I need to put it back." Something about Sarah's hesitant response bothered me, but I didn't push any further. A few days later, I found a credit card statement from multiple companies discarded in the trash, and I was speechless. Several cards had been maxed out. At first, I thought it might be unauthorized use, but then I recalled Sarah's uneasy expression. No way. When I confronted Sarah as soon as I got home, she broke down in tears and admitted, I ended up overspending because I was stressed from handling everything alone. Sure, I had been focused on work and left the family matters entirely to her, so I couldn't deny some fault on my part. At that time, we promised each other to work through the debt as a couple. About a month later, that day, the deal wrapped up smoothly, and I finished work earlier than usual. When I got home earlier than usual, I immediately felt something was off. At that hour, Sarah was not supposed to be back from her part-time job yet. I unlocked the door and stepped inside, and the first thing I noticed was a pair of unfamiliar men's shoes at the entrance. As I walked down the hallway, I heard someone using the bathroom. A cold sweat started to trickle down my forehead. I quietly moved toward the living room and slowly opened the door. Sitting on the sofa, comfortably relaxed, was Sarah's back. "Oh, you're back early." Without turning around, Sarah greeted me. "Yeah, the deal wrapped up quickly, so I came straight home." "Did you take the day off from your part-time job?" Hearing my voice, Sarah jumped up in surprise and turned to face me. "What? No way. Why are you here? More importantly, why are you dressed like that? You look pretty comfortable." I sighed as I looked at Sarah, who was still in her underwear. Realizing her attire, Sarah's face turned pale. "Oh, it's hot, and no one was home." Before Sarah could finish, a man's voice came from the bathroom. "Sarah, is something wrong? Who is in the bathroom?" "Wait, please, don't go in there." Sarah desperately tried to stop me as I headed towards the bathroom. Just then, a young man came out, wrapped in a towel, and stood right in front of me. It was a young guy. I had been cheated on by my wife. After that, a lot of truths came to light. The savings I had accumulated since our marriage for Melissa's future had been drained, and credit card bills under my name kept arriving from various companies. Fortunately, Sarah's parents were reasonable people, and they apologized to me countless times. We agreed that both Sarah and her lover would pay alimony, while Melissa's child support would be managed by Sarah's parents. Melissa, who knew nothing about the situation, naturally wanted to stay with her mother, so custody was given to Sarah. The end result of a father who kept working overtime, only seeing his daughter's sleeping face, turned out to be this. Sarah's parents promised to take full responsibility for raising their granddaughter, and I chose to part ways with my family. After the divorce was finalized, I had no idea what became of Sarah and her lover. Since Sarah's parents live far enough away that it requires a flight, it would be difficult for me and Melissa to meet. My mother, too, was deeply saddened by not being able to see her beloved granddaughter anymore. Half a year passed by in the blink of an eye. Currently, I have started taking care of a stray kitten I found in the park and named him Whiskers. I may never see my daughter Melissa again, but having Whiskers around helps ease the loneliness a bit. He makes me want to work hard and get home early. One day, since I was heading straight home from the site, I bought some treats for Whiskers and walked through the nearby park. This is the same park where I found Whiskers. Suddenly, I noticed a young girl around Melissa's age rummaging through a trash can, dressed in dirty, worn-out clothes. Her skirt was stained with dirt, her sweatshirt had a hole in the sleeve, and her shoes were worn down. Could she be a neglected child? The weather forecast had said it would rain from the evening, and I couldn't help but feel concerned. Trying not to scare her, I gently spoke to the girl. "Hey there, are you in trouble?" The girl looked startled for a moment, but then quickly grabbed my hand. "Sir, please help my mom." Looking in the direction the girl pointed, I saw a woman collapsed in the bushes. "Mom!" "Huh, is she your mother?" The girl nodded repeatedly. I rushed over and found the woman lying limp, unresponsive even when I spoke to her. Her hair was dry and disheveled, her clothes filthy and tattered. What on earth happened to this mother and daughter? Thinking that, I quickly called an ambulance. 10 minutes later, the ambulance arrived at the park. "Please come with us, sir." Encouraged by the paramedics, I ended up accompanying them to the hospital. As I waited in the lobby with the girl, we were eventually called into the examination room. When I entered the room, I felt the cold stares from the nurses. The doctor had the girl sit in front of him, checking her tongue and eyelids lightly before rolling up her sleeves to inspect her arms. Then he glanced at me from head to toe, as if sizing me up. This is bad. They definitely think I'm some abusive father. It was clear from their uncomfortable stares that they suspected I was the one mistreating this mother and child. Your daughter also seems malnourished. Meanwhile, you look perfectly healthy. The doctor's sarcastic tone left me at a loss for words. Your wife is suffering from malnutrition and exhaustion. Also, there are some concerning bruises. She won't be able to go home, so she will stay in the hospital overnight. Understood. Thank you for your help. The woman, now moved to a hospital room, remained asleep. I couldn't decide whether I should report this to the police immediately or wait until the woman woke up. Almost as if sensing my hesitation, the girl looked up at me with pleading eyes. If I go to the police, what will happen to this girl? Would she be separated from her mother and sent back to her father? Would you like to come to my place for now? Your mom will stay here for the night. I decided to leave the choice up to her. If she seemed reluctant, I could always consult the police. However, contrary to my expectations, the girl nodded. All right, let's go together. Looking relieved, the girl took my hand. Tomorrow morning, let's come back to see your mom, okay? I wrote a note saying I was taking care of the girl and placed it by the woman's pillow. I called a taxi, and the two of us got in. Suddenly, the girl's stomach growled loudly. Sounds like you're hungry. Is there something you'd like to eat? Hamburg steak. Got it. Tonight's dinner will be Hamburg steak. Will you help me cook? Kimberly. So your name is Kimberly. Nice to meet you. We got out of the taxi at a nearby supermarket and did some grocery shopping for dinner. When was the last time I went grocery shopping like this with Melissa? This spring, Melissa started first grade. I sent a gift to Sarah's parents to celebrate her enrollment, and all I received was a receipt confirmation. As long as she's doing well, that's good enough. Kimberly looked around the supermarket with curious eyes. When we passed the candy aisle, she stared at the shelves with sparkling eyes. If there's something you want, I'll get it for you. Her face lit up, and she picked a candy with a hair accessory as a bonus from the shelf. You're such a girly girl. When we got home, Whiskers greeted us at the entrance. Apparently, Kimberly also had a cat at home, and she quickly bonded with Whiskers. I immediately started preparing the bath and helped Kimberly wash up. For clothes, I still had some of Melissa's outfits stored in the dresser. I just couldn't bring myself to get rid of them over the past 6 months. The clothes fit Kimberly perfectly. After washing and drying her hair, I put on the candy bonus hair accessory. I also lent her some of Melissa's old toys that I hadn't been able to throw away. Kimberly happily played with them, and Whiskers joined in, making it hard to tell who was entertaining whom. In the meantime, I quickly made the Hamburg steak. The menu ended up being Hamburg steak, miso soup, and a salad, and Kimberly ate happily. Sir, it's so good. Glad to hear that. You must have been really hungry. Yeah, we didn't have much food yesterday, and my mom couldn't eat either. I see. Eat as much as you want today. Your mom will get meals at the hospital, so don't worry. Seeing Kimberly reminded me of Melissa, and it hurt my chest. That night, Kimberly and I slept together in my bed. The next morning, I informed my workplace that I needed to take a day off and took Kimberly to the hospital. Kimberly. As we entered the hospital, Kimberly's mother was awake. Seeing her daughter, she quickly sat up. Mom! Kimberly rushed into her mother's arms, and she hugged her tightly. I couldn't help but think of my own daughter. After a moment, Kimberly's mother gently pulled away and bowed to me. Thank you so much for being kind to us, complete strangers. No need to thank me. My name is Matthew. May I know your name? I'm sorry for the delay. My name is Mia, and this is my daughter, Kimberly. Mia, The doctor said that they need to keep you in the hospital for another 2 or 3 days for observation. I'll take care of Kimberly during that time, so please rest without any worries." When I said that, Mia looked relieved. I wasn't sure if it was because the police hadn't been involved or because she felt assured that her daughter's needs would be taken care of for now. Kimberly quietly sat by her mother, looking at the picture book I brought and folding origami papers, behaving well even in the hospital. While Kimberly and her mother were at the hospital, I called my company to take care of the handover for the work I missed. In the afternoon, Mia had her rounds and tests scheduled, so Kimberly and I decided to head home. When it was time to part with Mia, Kimberly looked sad, which made me feel sorry for her. Trying to sound as cheerful as possible, I asked, "What do you want to eat today?" "Curry with rice," she replied enthusiastically. We stopped by the supermarket to buy mild curry for kids, and when we got home, Kimberly immediately started playing with Whiskers. Whiskers had always been a comfort to me, and it seemed he was the same for Kimberly. While the two played happily together, I started cooking. After that, I gave Kimberly a bath, dried her hair, and we ate the curry with rice together. That night, as I was reading her a picture book before bed, I heard small, steady breaths next to me. Kimberly had fallen asleep, curled up with Whiskers by her side. I couldn't help but chuckle at myself for doing the things for Kimberly that I never got to do for Melissa. Regret crept into my heart as I looked at Kimberly's peaceful sleeping face, feeling a mix of emotions before closing my own eyes. The next day, Mia was discharged from the hospital. Since she had nothing with her, I paid the hospital bill in advance. Mia tried to refuse many times, but when I said it was for Kimberly's sake, she reluctantly accepted. Since Mia didn't have health insurance, I had to cover the medical expenses out of pocket, which was an unexpected cost. I managed to pay with my credit card. "Mia, do you have anywhere to go after you're discharged?" Right after leaving the hospital, I asked her. She seemed hesitant to answer, clearly deep in thought. "Are you planning to go back to being homeless?" "Well," when I asked, Mia showed a pained expression. Beside us, Kimberly smiled innocently. "For Kimberly's sake, I have a suggestion. If you don't have anywhere to go, why not stay at my place for a while? Once things settle down, you can visit the welfare office or reach out to any family you may have. Until then, you're welcome to stay at my house." Mia remained silent, seemingly caught in an internal struggle. She lowered her gaze, unsure of what to say. "But I can't keep imposing on you. I want to stay at his house. I hate sleeping on the park bench. It hurts, and when it rains, I get soaked. If my own daughter were living like that." I couldn't bear the thought. Kimberly's right. At my place, at least you'll have a roof over your head and a bed to sleep in. After much deliberation, Mia finally seemed to accept for Kimberly's sake. She bowed deeply to me. "Then, I'm truly sorry for the trouble. May we stay with you?" Of course. With Mia and Kimberly moving in, I no longer had to take time off work. I informed my office that I would be back the next day. While Mia and Kimberly took a bath, I prepared Kimberly's favorite fried chicken for dinner. The once lonely house now felt balanced again, just like when it was me, Sarah, and Melissa. A house that used to feel too spacious for one person now felt just right for three. Whiskers also seemed to have taken a liking to Mia, which was reassuring. "Wow, so cute." He purrs when I scratch under his chin. Whiskers gets along with me too. Watching them interact made me smile. The next morning, Mia, who woke up earlier than I did, tried to help make breakfast. However, it quickly became apparent that she wasn't good at cooking. "I'm sorry, I'll handle other chores instead." She then tried to help with the laundry, but after adding too much detergent, the washing machine overflowed with bubbles. Trying to make up for it, she decided to help with cleaning next, but not knowing how to use the vacuum cleaner properly, she accidentally scattered dust all over. "I'm really sorry. I just wanted to help since we're staying here. I haven't done much housework before. If it's not too much trouble, could you teach me?" Seeing how apologetic Mia looked, I decided to teach her each task one by one. It was just basic housework, but seeing Mia earnestly putting in the effort made me want to support her. From how to hold a knife while cooking to how to hang and fold laundry, I guided her through everything. Fortunately, Mia seemed to be naturally quick at picking things up, and after about a week, she was able to manage most of the chores. When I came home from work, dinner was ready, and the bath was drawn. This comfortable routine started to heal the loneliness I had been feeling. Actually, I was kicked out by my husband. One evening, about a week later, Mia finally opened up about her situation. Her father was a company president, and she had lived comfortably without any hardships until now. Her mother had passed away when she was young, but housekeepers took care of all the housework and daily needs. That explained why Mia couldn't handle household tasks at first. As an only child, Mia met her husband, Brandon, through an arranged marriage. After marrying, Brandon was brought into her family and was expected to eventually take over the company from her father. Even after marriage, the housekeepers continued to come, so Mia never had to do anything herself. Things seemed perfect, especially after Kimberly was born, but everything changed when her father fell ill. After my father was hospitalized, Brandon became vice president and took control of the company. The board members who had always supported my father were either fired or demoted, and before I knew it, the entire board was made up of Brandon's relatives. Any employee who opposed him was also dismissed, and Brandon completely took over the company. Whenever Mia visited her father in the hospital, she struggled with whether to tell him the truth, but she didn't want to burden him with more worries during his recovery. Moreover, being naive about the world, Mia was manipulated by Brandon's threats. "I'm the one running the company for your father. If I'm not here, your dad and the employees will all be in trouble." She ended up believing him. Eventually, I found out Brandon was cheating, and he even started openly bringing his mistress into the house. When I said I'd talk to a lawyer I knew, he took my phone and ID, then kicked me out. I begged him to at least let Kimberly stay, but he said, "Girls are useless as heirs, so I don't need her." Naive and inexperienced in dealing with real-world problems, Mia didn't know how to seek help from public institutions. She and Kimberly ended up living as homeless because she had no idea what else to do. Why didn't you reach out to your father right away? Or at least contact a relative who could help? If my father found out, his condition might worsen from the stress. Doctors had warned me to avoid causing him any anxiety. Now's not the time to be saying that. No parent wouldn't worry about their child. If Kimberly were in the same situation, wouldn't you want to help her? Knowing that your child is struggling without your knowledge is far more painful. Mia seemed to realize the truth in my words. "You're right. I was being a bad daughter." Right after that, Mia got in touch with her father's older sister. The next day, Mia's aunt came to pick them up. "Bye, Uncle Matthew. See you again." I waved back at Kimberly, who was smiling brightly while holding Whiskers in my arms. 2 months passed since then. Now that Mia and Kimberly were gone, the house felt oddly spacious. Even Whiskers seemed a little lonely. Although it was only about a month that we spent together, life with Mia and Kimberly was genuinely enjoyable. Sometimes, I wondered if it had all been just a dream. Back to reality, my company was still struggling. To distract myself from the loneliness, I threw myself even more into my work. One day, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. When I picked up, a man introduced himself as Henry, Mia's father. "I cannot thank you enough for taking care of my daughter and granddaughter. I would like to reimburse you for the hospital and living expenses. I heard you were unwell. Are you feeling better?" Though it wasn't really my business, I couldn't help but ask. Thank you for your concern. Seeing my daughter and granddaughter made my illness disappear. I'm perfectly fine now." He sounded lively and cheerful. "Are Mia and Kimberly doing well?" "Yes, they are. They both keep saying they want to see you." Hearing that made me genuinely happy. We arranged for Mia, Kimberly, and Henry to visit my place on my next day off. Feeling excited, I prepared by buying some new picture books that I thought Kimberly would like. When the promised day arrived, they showed up in a sleek, chauffeur-driven black luxury car. For a moment, I was taken aback. The driver opened the back door, and the first to jump out was Kimberly. "Hi, Uncle Matthew," Kimberly shouted as she hugged my legs tightly. Mia, who had just gotten out of the car behind her, smiled warmly at the scene. It had been a while since I last saw Mia, and she looked healthier and even more beautiful than before. It's been a while, but being stared at like that makes me a little embarrassed. When Mia pointed it out, I realized I had been rudely staring at her face. "Sorry, I couldn't help but admire you." I meant to apologize, but my words only made Mia blush deeper and avert her gaze. I apologized for the delayed greetings and thanks. Finally, Henry stepped out of the car and bowed his head to me. "Oh, there's really no need for that. Please, come inside instead of standing out here." I invited the three of them into the house. I served tea for the adults and orange juice for Kimberly. "My granddaughter often talks about you at home. She shares stories about the meals you cooked and the picture books you read to her." Henry smiled contentedly and stood up from the sofa, bowing deeply again. "Once again, thank you so much for helping my daughter and granddaughter." Mia also stood up and bowed politely. It really wasn't anything special. To be honest, I had just gone through a divorce at the time, and having them around helped me cope with the loneliness. If anything, I should be the one thanking them. Henry explained that he hadn't known anything about Mia being kicked out or Brandon taking over the company and replacing board members with his own relatives. While I was unaware, my daughter and granddaughter were thrown out, and the company was nearly taken over. Mia has always been a bit naive, and Brandon clearly took advantage of that. Mia had a refined presence, and even young Kimberly displayed proper table manners. It was obvious from the beginning that they were from a wealthy family, but it turned out they were even more affluent than I had imagined. Brandon had been misusing the monthly allowance Henry sent for Mia and had also maxed out her credit cards. Brandon's private life had been completely self-indulgent. But Mia, being inexperienced, hadn't questioned it and just followed his lead. He would say, "You don't know anything about the real world, so just listen to me," and I believed him. Since we had no trouble with food, clothing, or shelter, I never suspected anything until I was suddenly thrown out. Mia looked down, ashamed. "I should have made sure my daughter was more prepared for life. We are truly fortunate that you were there to help them." Saying this, Henry took both my hands. I could feel his genuine relief and gratitude, realizing that no matter how old they are, parents always worry about their children. Yes, just like me. Lost in thought, I suddenly felt Whiskers brushing against my legs. "Whiskers." Kimberly reached out, and Whiskers immediately snuggled up to her. Whiskers really liked playing with Kimberly, didn't he? Mia looked at her daughter with a gentle, motherly gaze. Mia told me that the divorce with Brandon had been finalized, and with Henry's health recovered, they managed to reclaim the company. Brandon and his relatives had been ousted, and Mia was now training under her father to eventually take over. I still have a lot to learn about the real world, though. Henry, who had been watching with a warm expression, handed me an envelope. "Here's the amount for Mia's hospital bills, as well as the cost of food and utilities while they stayed with you. If it's not enough, please let me know." When I checked the envelope, I was startled by the amount because it was far more than I expected. "This is way too much." I tried to hand it back, but Henry stopped me. "Please accept it. I wouldn't feel right otherwise. Let me properly thank you." However, I only accepted the amount I had paid up front for the hospital fees and politely returned the rest. "If it's all right with you, could Kimberly come over to play with Whiskers sometimes?" I asked Henry, who still wasn't satisfied. "Whiskers and I are friends. Can I come visit, Grandpa?" "Of course, as long as it's not a bother to you, Matthew." "Oh, it's no bother at all. If Kimberly does not mind, I would feel more at ease if you could accept both of them as a family." Henry muttered something to himself, but I could not catch it because Whiskers suddenly jumped at my feet. "Hey, Whiskers, sorry, could you say that again?" "No, it was just me talking to myself." Henry brushed it off and started getting ready to leave. I stood up, picking Whiskers up in my arms, intending to see him off at the entrance. "Is it really okay if I come to visit with Kimberly?" Just before getting into the car, Mia stopped and looked back at me. Of course, I'll be waiting. After that, I was still buried in work. I wanted to secure even one contract to repay Mr. Ingram's kindness. Just as I was about to head out for my usual sales rounds, my boss called me over. I got a call from Thompson Corporation. They're considering purchasing an entire apartment building as company housing, and they want us to find a good property. They requested you specifically. Why would they give such a big job to me? I am not sure, but it was their direct request. If the sale goes through, it will be around $13 million. That much? I knew I had to make this deal happen for the sake of the company. As he handed me the documents, my boss said, "I am not trying to pressure you, but the company's future depends on this," while simultaneously piling on the pressure. As I looked over the documents, I noticed something. Representative Director, Henry. This was not our first transaction with Thompson Corporation. As a major company involved in various businesses, they occasionally signed large contracts with us. Since Stevenson is not an uncommon surname, it never crossed my mind, but I realized for the first time that it was Henry's company. Mia really is the daughter of a big company president. When I made an appointment and went to Thompson Corporation, I was directly escorted to the president's office, unlike usual. Mia's father, Mr. Stevenson, greeted me with a smile. Since it is unusual for an ordinary salesperson to be invited to the president's office, I got a lot of curious stares on my way in. "Thank you for taking the time. I have brought some documents regarding the requested property." Mr. Stevenson carefully examined every detail of the materials I had prepared. Then he asked me a few questions. After I answered them all, he nodded in satisfaction. "I did not mean to scrutinize you like that. I just wanted to see for myself. As a small token of my gratitude, I wanted to tell you that I invited you here with the intention of finalizing the contract with you. Also, your documents were well organized, and your responses were precise. I can see that you are quite capable. I am honored." It felt like I was being interviewed for a job. "No, I had no intention of evaluating your work. I apologize if it seemed that way. Now, to the main point." Mr. Stevenson paused and gave some instructions to his secretary. The secretary made a call somewhere, and a few moments later, there was a knock on the office door. "Excuse me." It was Mia. Now that I think about it, she did say she was studying at her father's company. When Mia saw me, she gave a slight bow and a gentle smile before turning back to Mr. Stevenson. "Did you need something, Mr. Stevenson?" Speaking in a composed tone, Mia seemed completely different from how she appeared in the park. "Mia, I want you to listen to this as well." "Understood." Mia sat down next to Mr. Stevenson. "Matthew, what do you think of this company?" "Yes, the sight of so many employees working efficiently is impressive and shows the company's dynamism." "I see. In that case, how about marrying Mia, becoming part of the family, and taking over the company?" His tone was so casual that it took me a moment to grasp what he had just said. It seemed Mia felt the same way, as she was frozen in shock. "Dad? What are you saying all of a sudden?" "I am serious. Kimberly likes him more than I expected. You said you could not think about remarrying because of Kimberly, but if it is Matthew, it should not be a problem, right?" I was at a loss for words. "I am sorry." When I managed to force out those words, Mia looked as if she was about to cry. Seeing that, I hurried to add more. "I owe my current company and Mr. Ingram a great deal. When my father passed away, they took me in, even though I could not go to college. As just an employee, there's only so much I can do, but I still want to do my best at my current company." After silently listening to me, Mr. Stevenson sighed with a hint of disappointment. "Well, I suppose I have no choice. I will give up on you taking over my company. But I feel confident that I can entrust both my daughter and my granddaughter to you. In that case, I will give Mia away to you, so please become part of our family." With that, Mr. Stevenson bowed his head. My mind went blank from the suddenness of it all, and before I knew it, I blurted out, "If you are okay with me." After realizing what I had said, I quickly glanced at Mia to see her reaction. When our eyes met, Her face flushed bright red. Mr. Stevenson gave a satisfied smile, saying, "Well, well, that is wonderful. Thanks to Mr. Stevenson, our company managed to overcome its financial difficulties. Moreover, Mr. Stevenson even offered to gift us a new house to live in as a family of 3, which ended up with me selling my own house. The new house came with a cat tree, and our cat Whiskers looked quite pleased. When I told my mother that I was remarrying a young lady with a child, she worried, saying, 'Are you sure there is not some mistake?' But as soon as she met Mia and Kimberly, they hit it off immediately. My mother, who had been devastated after losing her grandchild, now cherishes Kimberly as if she were her own granddaughter. In this way, I finally managed to repay a little of the kindness shown to me by both my company and my mother. 20 years have passed since then. You know, there is something that surprised me the most when we first got married. When I said that to Mia, who was in the kitchen, she looked at me curiously while carrying a tray filled with delicious homemade dishes. Why bring that up all of a sudden? Back when we got married, I was a better cook. But after getting married, your cooking became professional level. Not just cooking, but also laundry and cleaning. You've gotten so good at taking care of the house. How rude. I worked hard, you know. I asked the housekeeper to teach me, and I even went to cooking classes. While Mia was learning leadership skills as the heir of a major company, I kept working at my own job, and together we raised Kimberly. Today is the day Kimberly is bringing her boyfriend over for the first time. Maybe we should have invited Grandpa too? Please don't. If both parents and a grandparent show up all at once, he will get intimidated. Dad, make sure to be nice to him, okay? Her boyfriend comes from a regular family. I wonder if he will be surprised to learn that her mother is the president of a famous company. If that happens, I will step in as someone from a humble background myself. With that in mind, we waited for our daughter's boyfriend to arrive.